Check 1 2 1 2.
Night check.
Not Nike.
Mic check.
Mike check. Mike 'em check 'em.
It was made from the wrong ingredients. And now I've got some organic goodies going on in the stuff that I'm building. And then what's super funny is all the people that I interact with are like, oh, I want pie. I like that. That sounds really yummy. And then their bellies are getting full on it too. So it's kind of interesting, that concept of being selfish and selfless, and how, there's a balance to be had, I think.
Curiosity fosters connection.
Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender.
Who said that?
We have a quote for you today with a particular story behind it as well.
Oh.
Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path, and leave a trail. The funny story about that quote is we have a new segment called Your Bucket List Wishes, right? And we're going to draw things from a bucket that are things that you want to do that we call the bucket list endeavors. But it's funny because...
Well, this morning I reached out to she's my all-time life girlfriend, best friend, sister, human being. We've been friends since the second grade, but Tara Newman, thank you so much for your energy, your currency, of course. But this morning I sent her a text and I said, can you send me 3 things from your bucket list for my podcast? And remember how last episode we were talking about how text can be interpreted in different ways?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she thought I was asking her about her bucket list for my podcast, like what she wanted to hear or have talked about on the podcast. And so she's the one that actually sent me this quote that you'll find out the creator to after the episode rolls. And the other part about it is that she utilized this quote when she was in high school, and she used it for she was the Lake Fair princess for our school, and she totally,
my cousin back in the day, Malik Davis, was also a Lake Fair princess.
The Lake Fair princesses are the best. And so she used this quote for her Lake Fair princess speech. But the best part is that she now is my age. We're 38 years old. And now she actually is finally learning about the person that gave her that quote from when she was in high school. So she just used it in the speech then, but she didn't know the value of it now. And she's immersing herself in transcendentalism, which is kind of a fun topic. So maybe we'll make that an episode sometime.
Maybe. So we're going to honor your friend and the person who created the quote. Who said that, right?
I love it. So everybody, hello again. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Priscilla Z, and this is
the one and only B. Willis, a.k.a. sometimes Be Active the rapper. And I'm your co-host.
Yeah, he's always be active, though, in life and in our community. So he's got a little dual cape. Well, today we're going to be here, of course, talking about pursuing internal evolution. We've got our good old piece of the pie. And it's actually really funny. Recently, I was listening to a speaker, and they were talking a lot about being selfless, and it almost sounded like being selfless to a detriment. And I've lived in that shoe before. I wore those shoes tight. But these days, I've been working on being selfish in the positive light. And by being selfish in the positive light, I take my piece of the pie. I want that piece. It's my piece to have. And it was funny, this person said that whenever they go after the piece of the pie, and I was listening and I was like, wait, what? What's the universe saying right now? But whenever they go after that piece of the pie, they themselves don't feel that great. And I remember when I used to have that mentality, it was a perception of the experience. And what I'm realizing now is that when I am full on pie, pursuing internal evolution in that intentional way, when I'm thinking about it all day long and all the interactions that I have in my daily life, I am now becoming a reflection of all of the things that are going on inside of me. And it's transmitting this light or this energy into the world, and other people are seeing it. And other people are asking, what is that? What do you got going on there? And
Sounds like pie.
it is pie. And then what's the really cool part is before, I think when I was trying to shove pie in people's faces, I'm not doing that now.
But you were shoving pie in people's faces that was made from the wrong ingredients.
It was made from the wrong ingredients. And now I've got some organic goodies going on in the stuff that I'm building. And then what's super funny is all the people that I interact with are like, I want pie. I like that. That sounds really yummy. And then their bellies are getting full on it too. So it's kind of interesting, that concept of being selfish and selfless, and how, there's a balance to be had, I think.
Life is perpetually about balance. When you find balance, you find peace.
Yeah.
When you find peace, you do better.
Absolutely. I love that. So today we've got some fun things that I guess we'll read from the Facebook line thread today. And B brought up something kind of cool. He just brought up the concept of, he said, okay, Facebook, complete the sentence. I feel loved
when
someone. Da, 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 da.
Dot, dot, dot.
And a couple people wrote in, and then I think that this feed or this concept could go further. So you guys find the feed if you can and show us some more love, of course. But a really lovely person that we know, Crystal, she wrote, takes the time to really listen and to not respond. So it seems like that's a specific form of listening. So she's not really looking for dialogue, interaction. She's not looking for you offering her resolution, but maybe just a friendly ear, which I love. We have another one from Amy, and she said, I feel loved when someone gives me light to shine and space to be my self-time, stable connection, and shows sacrifice and communicates respectfully. Values me as a woman, mother, grandmother, sister, partner, coworker, friend, word. And she also wrote that she kind of had too much to say. And I would say that I agree with Amy. This is a topic that is really huge. It's one of those things that love, there's so many different forms of love and feeling love that you could probably talk about it, not only for this episode, but a couple more throughout the year. And we'll see what happens.
Which we'll get into in a little bit. First things first, I'm going to show you guys this clip real quick.
I just want to catch you a dream or two, bring it to reality from me to you, because they don't understand what belief can do, but I'm the kind of man to make a dream come true.
What's in your bucket list?
All right, so that's something I developed for our newest segment, and we're going to draw from this little magical bucket and just put some things out there, some ideas into the universe about things to do on your bucket list. I'll draw one, and Priscilla, you can draw one.
Okay, perfect.
And so, I like this one. So, before I go, I would like to travel to 15 or more countries.
I love this one because if you think about it, so I've traveled to a couple other countries, like a handful. I went to Europe and went to some neighboring places. And I don't even think you comprehend how big the world is, maybe, until you hit, I would even think 10 countries, but 15 or more, I think you would really start to see what the heck is really going on this big plane. There's a lot to see.
In this economy, for some, that could be a lifelong list of its own. Just hitting those, more than 3 or 4 countries is a feat.
Yeah.
15.
This one is really cool, but it's also a risk your biscuit. That's what I call that. You being a little risky with this one. But it says, go whitewater rafting. I think I like this because adrenal rushes Like,
Mm.
I would think that whitewater rafting would be really scary, but really fun at the same time. It's like a freelance roller coaster. It's like nature's roller coaster.
I would like the hybrid version. I would like to do it in a roller coaster form.
Yeah, like a little safer. I like that for sure. That's super cool.
Where my life isn't on the line if the thing tips over or something.
Yes.
So that being said, please comments, anything that you would want or that is already on your bucket list. Send us in the comments on the YouTube page, the Pie Talk Podcast Facebook page, anywhere. Let us know. Drop your comments. We have a TikTok page. We got Instagram. Shoot us your comments. Shoot us your information, and we will add your bucket list item into the Magic Pie bucket.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is we want this to be a perpetual concept, so it's going to go on for a while or as long as it filters out, because it's inspirational. It's really inspirational to think about things that you would do before you pass on, which is essentially what the bucket list is. And one thing I've researched, like people that have been close to death or people that have, like right before they die, what they do, and the like general consensus is that nobody lays on their deathbed talking about what they did. Like they usually don't really live in regret about what they did. They're very okay with everything that they did. What they do start to talk about in terms of regret is what they didn't do. That's where they're like, oh man, I wish I would have loved like this. I wish I would have gone here. I wish I would have created that. And so anyways, the bucket list is kind of a cool thing to really start thinking about when you're living your true authentic piece of pie. You know, what kind of stuff do you really care about while you're here in this little flesh sack?
And this magical little bucket of wishes, the reason why I call it a magic bucket, because with your contribution and continuing to communicate and engage with this content, this bucket will never run out.
Ooh,
we will
like that.
We will have bucket list items every episode, always new. We will constantly put the posts up there in our different social media platforms. That being said, we will head right into
Keep That Thing Going
by Joshua Smith
and Jordan Davis. We appreciate you two so much. We also would love for you guys to go out there and grab this book if you can. It is on Amazon. They are a wonderful group of human beings who also have developed a nonprofit, and everything that you help is a piece of philanthropy that will then go and filter out into the rest of our community, which is worth it.
Totally worth it. And I believe we are on day 10.
Okay.
I like this one. The first sentence says, "Don't be afraid to look in the mirror, homie." Reflection and introspection isn't just for monks and gurus. It's how we stay on our game and keep pushing towards our goals. Stay focused on what really matters and stay grinding until you reach that next level of success. Action item, if you don't mind.
I am willing. Action item, take some time today to reflect on your goals, values, and priorities. Write them down and use them as a guide for your actions and decisions moving forward. And I gotta say, this is a really fun one because it hits right at home where we're at. So I actually work with Tara, the girl that I spoke about before. I work with her mom a little bit on some, like, let's say, life coaching stuff.
Nice.
And as she develops like her wants and her needs and her boundaries and all of those things, her goals, her values, her priorities, right? She's starting to realize that she's out there requesting them a little bit of other people. And what we're going to do this week is she's going to make agreements with her mirror, with her reflection. And she's going to sit down, and I'm going to do it too with her. We're going to make it like a fun activity, but we're basically going to sit down and write, what are your agreements with yourself that support your goals, your values, and your priorities? And then from there, you kind of get to make like your own blueprint, like we've got going, but it's your blueprint to success, your version of it, which I really dig. This is a good action item, guys.
It is. So, segue right into a blueprint. We have been asked about our own support group Where I work, there are support groups, and I do perpetuate some of this philosophy. So, a blueprint, the reason why it is not the blueprint is because we are not perpetuating that this is the only way to recovery or to resilience. So, a blueprint philosophy, the acronym meaning betterment, love, unity, preserve and recovery, intentionally navigating trauma, is just one pathway should you choose to follow in these philosophy footsteps, which breaks down to your own agreements with yourself.
Absolutely.
You get to decide what your recovery, resiliency, what your life coaching as a recipient of life coaching, what it looks like. You know, this is other person directed when it comes to the way that we provide our service, the way that we provide our support to people. And so these are just the principles of coming to a group that either one of us or both of us at any given time were to facilitate. So before we grab these challenge cards, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what a blueprint philosophy is all about. So before we dive into today's discussion, let's take a moment to revisit the core principles that guide our journey, represented by the acronym blueprint. So this is not the or a physical blueprint. This an acronym that happens to be a blueprint. Our first principle is betterment. Reminds us that personal growth and self-empowerment are at the heart of our collective journey. We're here to support each other as we work towards becoming the best versions of ourselves, knowing that this transformation positively impacts our friendships and family relationships. Love, as defined by the blueprint philosophy, which I'll get into later because that is the topic of this episode. As defined by us, philosophy, positive energy, thought, time, and actions invested as the foundation of our group. It's about fostering empathy, compassion, and kindness, not only towards others, but also, and most importantly, towards ourselves. Love is what strengthens our bonds and enables us to navigate the ups and downs of life together. The U in blue is for unity, which signifies our commitment to building a sense of togetherness and solidarity within our group and relationships. It's about recognizing that we're all in this journey together, supporting one another through challenges and triumphs. Unity helps us create a safe and trusting space.
Preserving recovery is about keeping the progress we have made within our journey to heal, acknowledging our strengths and remembering what worked for us to get us to where we are. Our final principle, intentional navigation of trauma, acknowledges that many of us may carry past experiences that have shaped our lives. Together, we explore ways to heal, grow, and thrive even in the face of adversity. It's about empowering ourselves to overcome obstacles and emerge stronger, and doing so deliberately with intentions. As we embark on each session, let's keep these core principles in mind. They serve as our guiding light, reminding us of our purpose and the values we hold dear. With betterment, love, unity, preserving recovery, and the intentional navigation of trauma as our compass, we are better equipped to create lasting positive changes in our lives and relationships. Now, let's continue on our journey together, supporting and uplifting one another as we explore the transformative power of these principles. And so I have to say, I have been engaging in this concept now for about 4 months, and my life has drastically changed, and for the absolute better. I think that something that happens in life, and it happens on accident, is the guilt shame cycles. That's something that occurs usually when you've been traumatized, and then you have some sort of reactive behavior based off of the trauma that's occurring in your life. And the way that the guilt shame cycles work, you guys can go Google it if you want, but it ends up being in isolation. you end up hitting a place of isolation. And when you're there, that's when you feel the worst about yourself. And the concepts that we are trying to create is developing an environment, and it doesn't matter who's been traumatized in what way, what their reactivity was, and what kind of things they did to cope for however long they've been coping. It doesn't matter how long their journey's been or how short, but we can all sit in a room. And I've been in rooms with B that have been wildly different, all different types of human beings in the same room. And we can all agree that we want to better ourselves. We want to intentionally navigate our trauma. And by unifying together in this really neat place, it's kind of like the concept of creating tribalism, but it can happen at a table within an hour with some people that you don't even know. And you end up having community and connection and a really great love that then honors your experience, others' experience. Everyone gets acknowledged. The acknowledgement then feels so wonderful. You feel free from that. You feel free from being able to share your truth. And I have watched countless people now truly feel better about their journey and recovery. And it's an amazing force. That unity is something that we all deserve.
Sounds like pie.
100%.
But seriously, yeah, I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm honored to have been given the gift to share with others. And so at some very near future point in time, we will have a space to host those meetings and that support group for those that are interested. In the meantime, we're going to get into our challenge cards and then the long awaited topic of the show. Let's talk about love. I like your challenge card.
All right. Oh, this is my favorite. This is actually my soul. Better than yesterday. Laughter is the best medicine. Better than yesterday. 100. Attend a show at a comedy club or watch a comedy special on Netflix. Take a break from the responsibility and stress of your life and just laugh.
That's so funny.
Yes.
Because I just put a post on my social media on Facebook and I said, all you have is Netflix and you need a good laugh. Mm-hmm. What are you watching?
That is actually really funny because you didn't plan that.
I didn't plan that. We always go with the cards that are on top. And I had over 100 comments. There's a lot of good stuff I'm going to now look into on Netflix that I didn't know was there, didn't even know to search for, that I'm now going to watch.
Yeah, the one that I just know personally is my sister Betty. You always will hear about her. She's going to be on a lot of episodes.
Shout out Betty.
Whoop. So she posted that she watches Louder Milk. And that's on Netflix, and she told me about it. And what's funny is...
she told me about it.
Yes. What's funny is that, Betty has never really, I think, even been in a support group like that. That's not even, her own experience. But, nonetheless, I know that she can identify with the human experience. And it just hits on, that human experience stuff. And one thing that's really funny about things that are funny, but I believe the statistic, and you all can call me out if you need to, but 80% of all humor is the truth. And that's why it's funny, because it's relatable and it just sheds light on stuff that's really real and it just is what it is. And so anyways, that's kind of what we hope to provide too. When we have this support group, it's kind of gonna have a little Louder Milk vibe to where you get to come as you are, no matter what you are.
Yeah. And it's all pathways of recovery from all forms of recovery, all forms of trauma. Everything. No shame, no exclusion.
Case of the humans. You're welcome.
Yeah. If you're human and you want to try a new pathway, a different pathway to recovery and to resiliency, when we have that group ready, we'll let you know. You'll see a post.
And also let us know. If that's something that you guys really want and it's something you need now, we'll make it happen. We'll facilitate it a little faster. We'll boot, scoot, and boogie.
Boot, scoot, and boogie. Boot, scoot, and boogie. Boot, scoot. That's a hook.
It is. Totally.
Boot, scoot, and boogie. See, we're laughing. It's great. All right. Better than yesterday. Listen and subscribe. That is the challenge card title. Listen and subscribe. Number 77. Find a new podcast and listen to an episode today. There's something powerful about listening to a podcast and filling your heart with a new perspective. I heart pie talk.
Yes, I do too.
That's how I get ready for our next episodes. On my way here,
I love it.
I find one, and it's not even always the last one. I just pick one and play it, and I just get into this vibe that we have here, and I'm like, all right, let's go. Because again, we don't script. We only have topics, and then we have a structure. You know, we have the who said that, and now we have the bucket list, and we have philanthropy. Like, these are ideas and a structure, but we don't. This isn't like we're looking at a screen where we have writers that can potentially go on strike and shut us down.
Right. I am laughing right now because you just made me think about something that, like, in reflection and about, like, pi, actual pursuing internal evolution. So, like, we have now, I think we're on 10 episodes. This might be the 11th episode.
This is 11 of the official. We have like 13 episodes. Pilot episodes where we were figuring it out.
So go back to the pilot episodes and go ahead and watch the first episode because I was scared. So scared. I did not know what the heck this dude was trying to get me to do. I wanted a script. I needed him to tell me exactly what to say. I needed it to be perfect before I said anything. And I had no effing clue what he was trying to do. And then now what's hilarious, like hindsight.
In hindsight,
holy moly.
The first page of the book, Keep Effing Going, is one day or day one. You decide.
Oof, man.
We made that her day one.
It for sure happened, and it for sure worked, because right now we have a blast, and every single time we're like, oh man, I can't believe that happened, or that person said what they said, or it just all mingles perfectly with the universe. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
So, without further ado, drum roll, let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about love. What does love mean to you? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? What have we learned in our experience? What has our families taught us about love? You know, the Greeks have a thing where they have 8. Is that them?
Well, what I found out actually when I was researching is there are 7 like versions
7
of
words.
Greek words, but there's also another version out there which is 8 different ones.
Yep, I seen both of those when I was kind of Googling around yesterday.
The 8th one that is missing from the other is mania, which I thought was really interesting that would be omitted in some versions, but in other versions it's acknowledged. So I don't know if you want to read a couple or I can go through them. Up to you.
All right. I don't speak Greek.
Right.
So we're going to just name them off, right? And so the 8 different types of love, according to the ancient Greeks, are eros, E-R-O-S, sexual passion, philia, deep friendship, ludus or ludus, playful love, and agape or agape. I don't know exactly. I think it's agape though. Yeah. I remember they had a commercial where it was talking about that.
Yeah.
So agape is love for everyone. And then there's pragma or pragma, long-standing love. Philatia.
Yeah, it's a wild one.
Philatia. Love of the self. Sounds like pie. And then there's storge, family love. And the one that is omitted in some versions that Priscilla just alluded to is mania, which is obsessive love. If you didn't figure that out when you heard the word mania, it just sounded
I was like, when I was sitting with this, I can kind of show you right here, but there's just like, I don't know if you can see it, but basically just Google search and there's like some pictures of like what each love was, and then I started to really sit with it, and I was like, this is so interesting because I almost want to start making flow charts. You know how I am with my visuals, but I wanted to like take a person that I love and put them in the middle of the flow chart, and then take the 8 different versions of love and connect. what I have with each person, because I have multiple versions of the love with each different type of person that I interact with. And there's like some people that maybe filter into one category, but really I think that everybody in my life filters into more than one zone of all of those 8 concepts.
Yeah, and that's why I really, for me, I try to identify with actually a blueprint philosophy version of love, because it simplifies it, right? And it talks about positive thoughts, action, and time, energy invested, because I believe the love vibration is our most valuable currency. And if you look at love in those terms, it is a verb, it is continuity, and it starts from the inside and it goes out. You know, I made a post the other day again where I said, nothing on this planet grows from the outside in.
Right.
Everything comes from the inside out. You plant a seed into the ground, it grows, it starts with its roots, and then it grows up and out, right? And it flourishes. So love has to start with self. But also, how much energy, how much positive thoughts, how much action, and how much time are you investing in a person, right? I do believe in the concept of unconditional love. That is love without opinion, love without hate, love without any expected thing in return. You know, a paternal love, maternal love. Those are forms of love that I believe are nature. Love can be unconditional. However, relationships are conditional. Relationships are based on agreements. And then people get those confused. Right. People mix those together because they will say, if you love me, you will, ... If you love me, or if you don't do this thing, that means you don't love me. Right? And so when we think about love in the terms of our society, ask yourself, what does that mean to you? How were you shown love, either from your parents, from the relationships of elders in your life that you witnessed? Obviously, we have a lot of propaganda coming from television and social media and all the movies and the Hollywood love. You know, that should be version number 9, right?
Right, totally.
is the love that the artist creates. This picture perfect. This is everything works out. To me, love is really an internal thing. It is an energy. It is continuity of thoughts and vibrations and feelings and all the things. So imagine if you could not speak and you could not write, how could somebody then feel loved by you? Go.
Action, time invested, right? I feel like there's a lot of different things that goes to. How could they feel your love if you couldn't speak or write? You know, it's going to be how you show them with your experience here on earth. I think it's really interesting that you talked about self-love. So if you pull up all of the different 8 versions of love, they all signify a meaning, and then the meaning has a love catalyst. And so the version of self-love starts, the body catalyst is the soul. That's the origination, that's the beginning part. And so I actually have this concept that I talk about, which is soul contracts. And so I believe that I have soul contracts with certain people on earth, and when I meet them, I usually know, like, there's something up here, like our souls have met before, or our souls decided to come down. And so, like, one that's like a really easy topical, it's not topical, it's actually very rich and full of love, but like your parents, you have soul contracts with your parents, in my view. And my dad used to say this, and I thought at first that it was a little harsh, but it's the truth, is that, you know, a parent can leave a child. They can abandon them. They could abuse them in every which way. And a child will still love their parent, and a parent will still love their child, even though their actions and their experience might not show you exactly what love looks like. But from a soul level, I believe that there's some sort of contract working happening. And a lot of it's to learn and to grow and to develop. And a lot of that is then again the soul or the self growing in pi or growing in experience. And the love is kind of the tester of time to show you the way.
Makes me think about an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about love, we talk about nature versus nurture,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in that particular scenario, let's pull from it another piece. When a child is raised by a parent,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say a father, and at 17 years old, the mother and the father have a fight, and it comes out that the father is not, in fact, her biological father.
Right.
This child will then, if they know or if they were to find out and be introduced to their biological father, would be able to create a love bond with this father even after 17 years of believing that their soul contract, as you say, using your term, was with this father that raised them. Mm-hmm. Now, they will always have love for that father, and they will likely not stop calling that father dad, right? Because that connection cannot be taken away. But this stranger who has been shown by a piece of paper or whatever, this, well, the blood test says I'm actually your dad.
Yep.
They will be able to, if they're both willing, connect and have that daughter, father love, paternal love, peace. I've seen it in real life.
It's wild because it's like almost like this stranger or this person you've never met and you might even have issue with because it was a secret or all the different things, but your soul is immediately sparked and immediately has this sort of love for this other individual. Another thing that I've seen is there was like an era within our history which was pretty unfortunate, but China ended up doing a one-child rule, and there were a lot of girls in China that were given up for adoption. And I've watched people be absolutely loved, like wholly loved by their parents that they were adopted by, but they lived their entire life still having this love for their mother and father or whoever it was that gave them up. And it's crazy to see that like dedication to an idea essentially at that point. But it's because, and this is my own theory and thought, but your parents are your first home. They're the first things that you experience here on earth. And so you kind of will always have some sort of safety or security and some sort of longing for them because they're the first actual physical thing that you touched base with when you got here on this planet. And be like cellular, like from cells, you were originally coming from each of them and their experience. And so you kind of have some form of this soul contract with them that is, it's undying. It's a trip.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing to think about too because it shows the power.
Love is divine. Love is an unstoppable, incontrovertible force on this planet. And a lot of times we hear in our society, the term or the word, just the word, right? I love comedy. I love food. I love my car. I love this. Yep. I love that, right? And then you think about this concept of value, right? Somebody will buy a car and they will love this car and they will put time, thought, energy, and action into this car, and they would build this car up and they would avoid at all cost damaging this vehicle, this car, right?
An item.
And we can ask this person, you clearly value that car. And they would absolutely, like, I love that car, And then you could ask the same person, do you value your relationships? Do you value the person that you're with? Or do you value a relationship with your mother? And they would likely say, well, yeah, if they have a good relationship, they would agree with that, right? So why do we invest in breaking the relationships that we love and value? Why do we do things that would cause those things to be damaged, that would cause those things to break.
Right.
When we are operating from a place of what we identify as loving that person.
Right. You would never go to that car that you love and run your key along the line of its door frame. That would seem crazy to you. But you
wouldn't put the wrong type of gas or oil in that car either.
Right. But you do that all the time with people that you love, incidentally, I think, because you're not being intentional about what that relationship really holds with you or the value of it. I just read another portion of this that shows familiar love, and familiar love is about the storage that you have, the mindset. So a lot of the times I think we compartmentalize that love is familiar and that it is in our storage bank and that we don't even need to do anything to secure it because we've got it locked down with memories and the things that we've experienced with that person. But we're not necessarily thinking that it's something we have to continue to grow and to continue to love. We just feel like it's on lock because you own it. But if you don't take care of that car, it'll rot. So same thing goes for your love.
You have to treat yourself like the person in that analogy would treat their car. Absolutely. You have to put the best fuel into yourself. You have to put the best knowledge. You have to align yourself with people with positive energy that will help you grow that internal love. Because the best way, I believe, and this is my opinion, the best way that you can love another person in your life is to love yourself fully and wholly first. Absolutely. Because when you grow the natural way that things grow from the inside out, then you will be less likely to want to indulge in arguments. How many of you that aren't experiencing a condition that would cause you to stand in the mirror and argue with yourself aggressively and call yourself names that will cut you down and cut to hurt, that, be combative with yourself? The reason why we don't often do that, when we talk about negative self-talk, we all experience this. Some of us don't. And some of us, if a negative thought about themselves or their capabilities come, they just pop it like a bubble. Yeah. These thoughts are just, we get rid of them. Why are we so caught up in love that we would diminish another person, that we would take away from another person in order for ourselves to feel that they are doing what's necessary for you to feel loved? Mm-hmm. Love should not in any way, shape, or form take away. Yeah. Love should not be a compromising situation. Those are conditions. That's not love. If you have a contract with a person and you have agreements, right? Those agreements are just conditions of your continued relationship in the dynamics of the way that you are living, going to, if you're in a marriage, if you're in a boyfriend, girlfriend, but you live in your own places because you just started dating. Those are agreements. When you love a person, that's internal. And how you love is based exclusively on how you love. The way that you love somebody or the way that you show them that you love them has nothing to do with what they say you should be doing. Mm-hmm. Because you only know how to love the way that you know how to love. Now, there's a thing called love languages. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you have heard of it. And you can take this survey and it would give you 5 or 6 categories, right? And when you learn somebody else's love language, it goes back to when we talk about the golden rule versus the platinum rule. Right. The golden rule is treat others as you want to be treated, which is, quite frankly, it's decent, but it's not as evolved as treating somebody as they want to be treated, which is the platinum rule. So the concept of the love languages is if you learn how somebody else perceives love or perceives what love looks like or feels like to them, then you can take actions by your own choice to speak in their language, in that love language to them. So if they like receiving gifts, but your love language is quality time, right? For you to treat them by saying, hey, I spend all this time with you, but if you never buy them a gift according to their love language, then they will not feel loved.
Right.
But it doesn't mean you don't love them.
No, I think that what's really interesting too is the selfish mind or whatever that drives us, which again, selfish can be good and can be bad. But a lot of the times when we're loving other people, we're loving them like we want to be loved. So I've seen a lot of people who like their love language is gift giving, like them personally, they feel loved when they receive gifts. So they're constantly gifting to other people. And then maybe the person receiving it could really give a hoot about the gifts. And so then that person is like, great, you got me a gift. Like, who cares? Because to them, it doesn't matter. And then the person that is giving the gift that thinks that that's a form of love communication feels let down, feels sad and upset because
and they feel like the other person is being
unappreciative and all that stuff, when truly the other person might just like literally need like words of affirmation or time spent or acts of service, things that are just different on that love language spectrum. And it's about whether or not you want to stop, think about your own needs, of course, identify what your love language is. But if you want to foster the relationship you have with the other person, identifying what their needs are and then deciding if you're going to give that to them or not. And if you do, you might have more fluidity within the relationship. So the five love languages it's a really great, like, simple
it's one
base
tool. It's one pathway.
Yeah,
it's just a tool.
It's a neat tool to use. And it's something that like, I've seen it work with like people who are like, well, I'm not into that or whatever. But you could be like, okay, like just look at this little chart here and see what you got going on. So like if you guys have relationships in your life that maybe you're struggling with, just pull that up and just give it a shot. And if someone's all humdrummy about it, they might actually give in faster than you think about identifying their love languages, because it's kind of a fun thing to do. And why not? You're only here one time in this flesh stack.
But it's just like when we talked about the quote I had for anger. It's the same thing. To understand the nature of love is to understand that love, like anger, is nature. Mm-hmm. Love is natural. That internal, unconditional feeling we have can be for humanity, can be for a person, can be for a child. It's a natural thing, mm-hmm. right? When we talk about love in the form of relationships, we're really talking about agreements. Yeah. We're talking about conditions 100%. And willingness. But before you get to any of those, it goes to our agreement here. Curiosity fosters connection. Communication is your superpower to gaining an understanding about a perpetuated, loving relationship.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, I mean, he, of course, wrote this, but he didn't write this for our episode today. But it sure does fit. And so in order, it says, the third agreement is, I agree to love myself first, putting positive energy, thought, time, and action into my own well-being and treating myself as if I'm my very own best friend by acknowledging my strengths, appreciating my beauty, and protecting myself in all ways. And so that's that evaluation of self and what kind of love language you're speaking. And then the next agreement right thereafter is, I agree to connect with others in a positive and authentic way. I can accept that curiosity fosters connection. I agree to look for the commonalities among others and myself and practice open-mindedness when confronting with something new by asking questions that are meant to seek understanding and promote unity. So that's where you then go and you take that a step further and you start to unify yourself with the people that you love, and you ask them about their love languages, and then foster that connection by getting curious in it, and then also maybe reciprocating the sort of love that they need, which is, again, that platinum rule.
Yeah.
And then you get to have a really shiny prize at the end. So.
Know thyself, learn thyself. Pi is essentially a prerequisite to the golden rule, which is also segues into the platinum rule. Because if you pursue internal evolution and you learn all that you can about yourself, mm-hmm. and you get to a place where you are comfortable in your own skin, you're comfortable in your own authenticity, then when you treat people the way that you love yourself, which is the golden rule, it segues into the platinum rule, because once part of treating people the way you want to be treated is you also would like to be treated by other people the way you want to be treated. So you're going to take that into your curiosity, because in order to treat somebody via the platinum rule, you have to get curious. You have to connect. You have to ask questions, and you have to use active listening when they're giving you those answers, so that the more you find out about a person, the better you can serve them in that space of treating them the way they want to be treated.
Yeah, and like what I really love is they'll kind of round this up right now. And like I said, we could probably have a couple more episodes on love for sure.
For sure.
But what this reminds me of is the whole pie. Okay. And so we want to get to the whole pie in our pursuit of internal evolution, but there are many pieces. And when you're pulling in all those different pieces, I think that's how you're going to find that.
Who said that?
All right. Well, the quote that was provided earlier was by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was born on May 25th, 1803, and died April 27th, 1882. He went by his middle name, Waldo, and was an American, it looks like an essayist, lecturer, philosopher, abolitionist, and poet who led the transcendentalism movement of the mid-19th century. He was seen as a champion of individualism and critical thinking, as well as a prescient critic of the countervailing pressures of society and conformity, which I really love. Friedrich Nietzsche thought he was the most gifted of Americans, and Walt Whitman called him his master, which I think is really interesting. Some other quotes by him were, what lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. Never lose an opportunity of seeing anything beautiful, or for beauty is God's handwriting.
Okay.
To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment.
That sounds like pie.
Love this guy. Always do what you are afraid to do.
That was like Jill when she said, I strive to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. The only way to have a friend is to be one. Nature always wears the colors of the spirit. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Once you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen.
Sounds like a lot of really
I love this
good.
guy. Last one, because it just sounds good. All life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. I love this dude. Good job, T. That's an awesome choice. I appreciate
Thank you for
Mr.
that.
Ralph Waldo Emerson. And maybe we'll have a little episode about this guy and some transcendentalism and that movement that occurred. I think that'd be a great topic to head up one of these days.
You know me, I'm all game.
Absolutely. Some last parts that we'll hit before we take off is just a little point of philanthropy. And I know this guy who's kind of a local dude or whatever, and he's got this, I don't know, nonprofit. Do you know that guy at all, B? You ever seen him in the mirror?
Yep.
Yeah? Who is that guy?
All right. So this weekend we are at Pursue It If You Want It nonprofit, putting together Easter baskets for families of justice involved people that may still have loved ones that are incarcerated. So we're going to gather together, have a board meeting, and put together some Easter baskets for those families and their children. And yeah, I'm just honored to be able to do something like that. We had some donations. Shout out to Rhonda Rosenloff, Olympia Sober Housing had donated And all of you that tapped in and donated to the GoFundMe to make this happen, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the board members. Big shout out. And again, as always, pursue it if you want it. And while you're at it, pursue internal evolution.
Yeah, the other point of this concept is, so B does his form of philanthropy, and then his wife, Lacey, she also works at Innovations, which is another form of philanthropy. Mm-hmm. And this concept of love of humanity, which is really a force between their love, too. They have the connection together, and there's a lot of different couples out there that focus on this, like Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and Jay-Z and Beyonce and Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith, you know, like they also, like, part of their love is, and even though they're in the public eye and they're kind of kitschy, you know, celebrities, but the core is that their love together then builds even more love for humanity. And they use that love to then create more nonprofits, to make more resources accessible to those people that don't have them. And so in your own life, the same concept that B is trying to set in his example, he's not trying, he's doing. The example that he sets within his everyday with his partner is also something you could consider doing in your life. You know, like we talked about before, you are a wonderful philanthropist, but connect with the people that you love and see what you guys can all do together to kind of build up and bulk, like Jill, get those muscles stronger in terms of your philanthropy body build, and see what you can do, see what kind of energy you can pump out into the community.
And before we go, speaking of power couples, and also in alignment with this card from earlier, listen and subscribe. Shout out to Serving It Raw podcast. Yeah. So if you want to catch up on local hip hop interviews, and there's some philanthropy that goes on with that podcast as well. Shout out to my main man, Gutta Main. You know, check out his podcast. It's on YouTube and other platforms as well. Follow us on Pie Talk Podcast on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, iHeart, Amazon. YouTube especially. We're trying to get our subscribers up. So, you know, support. Continue to support. We are honored that you engage as much as you do, and we try to continue with good content that is about becoming your best self. You know, we're trying to perpetuate the shift in the consciousness of being able to heal yourself, self-empowerment. No longer do you have to agree with being powerless. No longer do you have to agree to somebody else's authority over your identity and over your narrative. Take control, write your own narrative. And when someone tells you that you have to be or identify a certain way, I challenge you to challenge them with this question. By whose authority?
Yeah. What would Waldo say?
What would Waldo say?
There's so much love that I have for all of you. Please make sure to give yourself all the love that you deserve. Just because you are breathing, just because you're a human being, you deserve love. It's a pretty cool concept. And then make sure that once your own cup is filled with love, you start to consider others and how you can start to love them too.
Grow your love and share your love. Yeah. All right, we out. Bye. Thank you for tuning in, as always.